Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful, empowered harmonizers. We are zooming in and focusing in a little bit more in depth on a great viewer question, and that is to look at the estrangement or isolation that comes as a result in a relationship with someone who is manipulative, someone who may be narcissistic or psychopathic. And really, there is a sense of estrangement and then really a sort of guilt that follows. So, we're going to kind of zoom in and focus in on what I would call the estrangement guilt as a result of a relationship with someone who is manipulative. When someone is manipulative, such as a narcissist, you have to remember that there is going to be an ulterior motive, which is serving to the narcissist and not in your best interest. Beware of the decoy. Beware of the disempowerment. Beware of the being shutting down, and then the furthermore ensuing guilt that will erupt when you try to sort of restake your ground or reestablish connection. Reestablish connection really to the other person prior to connecting with yourself. So there is a sort of vibration, your energetic vibration, your emotions that change as a result of the relationship with someone who is narcissistic or psychopathic. The emotions, particularly that of which become really your fight or flight, which then are seduced or coaxed into being in a desired state. So being trapped in the fight or flight then becomes manipulated and then sort of covered up and decoyed to become a desired state, which is counterintuitive and counter to your own empowerment, your own happiness, your fulfillment, and evolution along the right path, which I call positive orderly direction thinking or POD thinking, and behaving, feeling, and really becoming. And so we must realize in life that there is an opening up, an unfolding, which you might, equate with a rose, a lotus blossom, the opening of an onion. But that is the progress and nature of life and the spiritual context with which we find ourselves in after being sort of stuck or trapped in a relationship with someone who does not have our best interests in mind. Be it a organization, be it a neighbor, be it a spouse, be it a family member. It does not matter the packaging that this comes in. So it doesn't matter if it's an organization, a neighbor, a spouse, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, an ex, a future in-law, whoever it is. It's important to understand that manipulation is not forthright. It is not what you see, what you get. There is an ulterior motive. There is a bait and switch. And this can result in estrangement, meaning not only feeling estrangement from others, but then resulting in estrangement from yourself. You have lost a definiteness of purpose. You have lost your passion, your burning desire. It becomes extinguished and sort of turned around and flipped upside down when you're in a relationship with a narcissist. It can then result in codependency. It can result in brainwashing, gaslighting. But namely, the state of fear really becomes the underlying problem. Ongoing and chronic fear. The fear of not being good enough. The fear of not being able to make it in the relationship. And then that becomes a parallel to not being able to make it in life. That is the stronghold. That is the stranglehold that a relationship with a narcissist or a psychopath will create in those people who have chosen or choose to stick around, who choose to, unwittingly, unknowingly, subconsciously feeling that this person is the rule and the roost, that they are where it's at. They've bought into the feeling that they are not good enough and that this person knows them better than they should know themselves. And the narcissist, because of their sense of entitlement, because of this, they tend to exude this energy or authority. And not as a positive influence, but sort of as a negative cascading or parading as the positive. It is as if, that it becomes flipped around. Does that make sense? So even though it is a negative influence, disempowering, instilling fear, paranoia, doubt, guilt, the disempowering emotion and set of emotions then becomes really a sort of feeling of estrangement, meaning sort of not feeling that you don't belong, feeling that things are strange, things are odd, that you're sort of, grabbing at straws in order to survive, and you find yourself in a survival pattern versus an empowerment pattern. This then, the problem is, I think, in the love bombing stage, and then the devalue and discard stage, which there is a pattern to the relationships, and then an ensuing thought pattern in those who have stuck around with the narcissist, those people who have, become more closer to them and have experienced an exposure to them more in depth. In other words, they've worn them, like a jacket. They have taken them on as their own. They have babied them, coddled them, nurtured them, given them affection, given them a place to work, a place to live, a place to cry, whatever it is that the narcissist needs. They kind of, are the takers of the world, but yet you don't feel that they are in a taking manner. In fact, it oftentimes feels like the privilege to give in the beginning of the relationship with a narcissist or a psychopath, because one is buying into that narcissistic estrangement and the guilt that if you leave, you are inherently flawed, there's something wrong with you, and perhaps there's a fix for you in the relationship. This is flawed thinking. This is a result of your mind being sort of brainwashed and gaslighted to feeling that your self-esteem and your value of an individual is somehow tied to this person. And that, without them, you are a nothing. You are a nobody. You don't have what it takes. You then develop a fear of succeeding and a fear of failure, feeling that you can't make it on your own, that there's something that you don't have, something that you're missing that will be a forever component or be an inherent problem for you moving forward. This is really what I feel is like an estrangement guilt. In other words, because the narcissist has, sort of indoctrinated those supply sources to feeling that, you better hang out with me, or you better take my authority, my superior as, and then judge as if. So in other words, it becomes this whole conditioning and programming, which people are unaware of. They're not conscious of it. It becomes subconscious and it becomes embedded in the heart, which is almost, like a lot of where, the subconscious, plays with your heart, and it plays with your sense of direction and sense of self. And so there is an estrangement, a feeling of, not knowing what to do next, not knowing where you belong. And it's really because there is a disconnect to the safety and security and strength within. And so that is really the whole goal of the channel, is to help you to understand that underneath it all is your strength, your safety, and your security. That is what I'm here to instruct, teach, and help to validate and help you to experience, even though you might have been through, a series of estrangement and then guilt, doubt, apathy, depression, the complex PTSD. These are all resultative states. Really, what I feel is really where things go when you're really trying to work it out moving forward. And so this really, it becomes important to understand what energy belongs to the narcissist and what energy belongs to you, and to really not feel guilty about letting them be who they are, and guilt and not being guilty for surviving. It almost becomes then like a survivor's guilt, which can be tied to this individual, and then feeling that you didn't fulfill a promise, you didn't fulfill a commitment, and you have built this up in your mind. It becomes resultative suffering, and the suffering becomes then self-inflicted. You must understand that then if you perpetuate these feelings and this feeling of fear, it becomes self-inflicted. It becomes like an incessant loop. It can also come in the form of intrusive thoughts, obsessive thinking, obsessive worry, paranoia. It can come in all these shades. So the empowerment is the release of the fear, the release of the misunderstanding, the release of the flawed thinking, and a reestablishment of the strength, security, and will, and sort of what might feel like a discipline that ensues to get you back on your feet and, shaking it all off, undusting yourself. And so I really want to dive into more of that in depth, because I think there is a lot of deep-seated fear that is created because of a narcissistic or psychopathic relationship. Deep-seated meaning it's way down there deep, it's taken a stronghold, it's gotten comfortable, it's made a nest, it's made a place, it's sitting there. You got to get it up off the couch, the internal couch, so to speak, where it is glued, oftentimes like a super glue. And so we're really going to be exploring in the year moving forward of how to unroot and really get to that deep-seated level where it becomes a continual and perpetual snag, where people feel perpetual anxiety, and these sort of recurring and unchanging patterns which are displeasing to the individual. And so, as I've mentioned in previous videos, we are starting up a membership. And I believe there's a join button next to the YouTube buttons here, where you can join the membership. And we're really going to be going more in depth. This is due to popular demand, a lot of questions, and in that, that are relating to this. People who really want to get a grip. And I respect that change, and I'm here to assist you to make that change in a full recovery. And really, it's all about the results. I really have a passion for that. I think it is very sad that people spend years wondering and waffling, floundering, and not getting results, not getting the tools, not getting applied, things that they can apply right away. The way things are structured when we talk about psychology, you have to have the health insurance. You have to go and sign up for a doctor's appointment. You might need to get a referral. You might have copays. You might have a deductible. You don't know who to choose. Here's this, and so the way, and we're based here in the United States. And I know we have a lot of international viewers, but it's also the same in healthcare, really, I feel, in other countries. And you can share that in the comments of what it's like to try to get assistance and get it sorted out. And oftentimes it's, not effective. They only prescribe medication. You don't get an understanding to really get what it is. And so I've created this as an outlet, not only as an outlet for you to connect with others, but to get a lot of things off of your chest and get some tools that you can apply. And so I've created the membership here, which you can join and you can then participate in. And we're going to be posting specific membership-only videos that are real interactive. And due to popular request, a lot of people who want more of the provocative questions, the discussions, more of the tools, the applicables, the meditations, a lot of those are going to be going in more in depth for people who really want the change and really want to see a shift and a breakthrough in their life. So check out the membership. And I'm also going to be creating some members only polls that are elicitive to help you to understand more of the cause has created this effect of feeling stuck and these blocks, and to help release these blocks, to understand where they are lodged within and how to get them out, because they become like a barrier, and then people feel like they have a personality problem now, they're damaged goods, I'm forever scarred, and they can't really transcend, they can't really process, they can't really get beyond it, or it's taking too long and it has affected so many areas of their life. So we need to change. We need to understand. We need to get a grip. We need to understand the inner workings, not only of this person, but how it is set up within you, so you can create a long change within. And so it no longer becomes an issue. It is important, to get it done, to do the work, to get the understanding, to really get it in what I feel is applied psychology. It's, knowledge is power, but knowledge applied is more powerful. And so we really want to get to the application stage. So that is really the effect of the membership. So it's not, it's not going to affect, regular posting, although I'm probably going to be doing a lot more posting in the membership area, because I think it's for people who really want the hands-on stuff that we're going to be doing and then developing and evolving in that area. So please check it out. And we're going to be looking at some real exciting changes and topics, and get it very specific, very much in the example basis, because I think that's what needs to be flushed out and looked at, and have time in the privacy of these videos to check it out and get it understood how it is for you personally, not like just on the universal basis, global basis, but for you to actually understand and identify, and how it's affected what you feel your identity is, who you are, what you have surrounding you, and how, your surroundings then reflect sometimes your limitations, and how to really sort of bust through those, because, being restricted and being limited and feeling estranged is not your purpose. That's not your passion. That's not the energy you're here to live and be stuck in. Suffering it's part of life, but it doesn't have to be the biggest part of life. I think it has its place. Legitimate suffering, M. Scott Peck. And oftentimes it can be a good motivator, but it's a negative motivator. And oftentimes it creates more negativity. It creates more anger. You can be on the road to healing and be angry, but that, is not a coveted or desirable state. So we want to kind of get through some of those annoying states and get to more of the pleasurable and positive states. And yes, even behaviors, if they're embedded and deep-seated, can change. Anger, temper tantrums, being frustrated, getting yourself into trouble with fighting with people, saying the wrong thing, doing things, whatever it is that you don't like about your situation right now, it can change and it will change. And if you're feeling like it needs to change, then it should change. So let's be accountability partners here on the channel. Let's get there together. We're going to cross the finish line together and make sure you're in the position, the feeling, the outlook, and receiving what you need, want, and deserve and are worthy of. Because it's important that you take time to look at these things. With today's lifestyle, everything is fast, fast, fast. You don't have time oftentimes to, it'll speed through those areas that you actually need to slow down, to check out, to speed up. So what I'm suggesting is, a little bit of attention will give you a lot of results once you understand sort of the finer aspects of personal development and interpersonal relationships, understanding others, especially in business, in community, in your family, in your marriage, how these, gears all sort of come together and what they produce and how they unravel time for you, because relationships really are like gears. They kind of come together, almost like inside of a watch, and it'll move through time, and it'll put you in a place where you want to be, and or a place where you don't want to be. And what you thought you were going to have with the relationship, you're not having. And so it's important to kind of realize that to get to where you want to be, there are specific changes of patterns and changes of consciousness, changes of patterns of consciousness, which need to be looked at. That is where the change is taking place. So whether you learn this in kindergarten, whether you're learning this in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 70s, it's never too late. It really, and where you are right now is where you're supposed to be. So oftentimes that estrangement guilt needs to be looked at and let go. It's oftentimes saying that this is the opportune place, and guilt is something that is holding you back. It's causing that perpetual worry, which keeps you stuck and really sort of connected to the abuser, which, you have to understand that the trauma bond will oftentimes instill a guilt, even if the person is not there. It could be years later and you're still stuck in the trauma bond because there's like a survivor guilt, an estrangement guilt. They're saying, it's actually a positive. You don't belong with the narcissist. You don't belong with a psychopath. It's actually a positive. So the guilt is to say, I am not like these people. I am not an energetic match to being abused. I am not the counter force to their force. This ain't me. This ain't who I am. This is not my fabric. I am not wired to be abused. I'm not wired to be taken advantage of. I'm not wired to be exploited. And until you can come to that realization, that aha moment, that recognition, you can begin to say and get the energy coming back to you that can help you to think more clearly, feel more clearly. It is at a feel and gut level where we need to change. You need to feel this in your being. And oftentimes it's very difficult to feel that if you're on the go, 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 that click, 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 things oftentimes don't. The new positive oftentimes you need to have a deep-seated positive then. You need to have deep-seated strength, deep-seated wellness, deep-seated safety and security that gets in there even deeper than the fear, the obligation, and the guilt, the anxiety that has been that you have experienced as a result of this energy that you have encountered. You really need to look at it at that level. And not that you're dehumanizing somebody, you're actually rehumanizing them to see that's who they are and to realize that you feel estrangement because you are not an energetic match to their mistreatment. You do not belong. That is an important thing for you to recognize and acknowledge and validate and say amen to. I am not, and that it's okay. No matter if this person was so good looking, so smart, so wealthy, so beautiful, so handsome, so talented, whatever, it don't matter. Just clean your hands of it. Let them be who they are. And oftentimes the guilt is, a fear of what you are missing moving forward. You've tried to right their lies. You've taken on their lies. You've lived their lie. Going after the illusion of these people is not going to get you what it is that you want. It's actually a dream and a reality and a vision that you want, not the illusion. And that is to be yours. That's why you have that bubbling up within you. That's why you've wanted, but you have not kind of followed through. So I really want to, everything from, we're talking about the new year here, and we are going to post this here in the members only video, but we're talking about, or maybe we'll just make this for everybody. Maybe a lot of people can relate. And here I go with the understanding that all that you have wanted to become is to be a reality. However, it will elude a lot of people's grip and a lot of people's manifestation and actualizing because they don't follow through, because they don't do the little baby steps that seem too simple, too easy, too effortless. Back in the kindergarten, learn your ABCs. You need to understand that you need to go back into a childlike experience for yourself. Getting the crayons, getting the paper, getting the nap, getting your nap rug or whatever it was back in your 5-year-old, getting whatever it is, your blanket, your blankie, not the immature, but actually into that childlike state where you can then begin to understand in that evolution a little bit more. And to look at your life with new eyes, the eyes of a wondrous child. And so if you can look at that, then miracles and change will begin to develop and present and create, and it will be a feeling state. But you have to, like we were saying in the previous videos, you have to be open enough to have belief. The magic of belief is real. Magic. A child loves the magic, the discovering. I built this tower. I built, all these different things that a child can do are the foundation for that new change. And so looking at it with new eyes, looking at it with the eyes of a child, and being able to realize that the estrangement guilt oftentimes is because there is more support there out for you. There is more growth and actually fulfillment of the dream if you take the steps and catch it while it's like a feather in the air. You really need to pay attention to those aha moments. Let's call them feather moments, feather in the air moments, where they're sort of floating right by you like a feather on the wind and you just need to grab it. Sometimes the feather might have already landed, so you might need to pick up the feather from the ground right in front of you. But it's where the dream is kind of reignited. And that is the reality, not the illusion that you might have had sort of fostered with the narcissist or the psychopath, because they're after the illusion, and they oftentimes don't have any ability or intention to follow through and follow up. And so that's how they are. Allow that to be, and allow it to be separate and distinct from you. The energy, that person, and the illusion, allow it to be separate and distinct, and just to allow it to be sort of over there. They're needed over there. They kind of came into your life, and allow them to kind of, S-curve their way out, or at least in a distant perspective, but be willing to let go of the trauma bond. And so this might feel very scary because this is what you are used to, and it is familiar. It has been validated. It has been rehearsed and memorized by you for the longest. That is a problemo. That is a problem, because it becomes, repetition and experience of the estrangement. I don't belong. The intrusive thoughts. How long has that been going on? Only you can be the judge and understand why it is the way that it is for you in your life. So we're going to really work on that and really reconstruct really a new consciousness and a new pattern and a new perspective of what is possible. We're going to put it all out there, and you're going to feel an enlargement of the quantum field. You're going to feel, a shift, and it's going to be a pleasurable shift. And it's not something that's out of control, crazy, whatever. It's going to be a shift of strength and security and safety that you can experience despite all that you have been through. This is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. I hope that you join our new memberships and check that out and see how it goes in bringing you the lift and the elevation and the transcendence, and really those lessons that we need to look at, examine, and digest moving forward. So please share, please subscribe, and please join for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. Peace out. Have a beautiful day.